We're learning Tanya Perek Tes Zayin. We're on page Chof Beis. We're at the fifth line after the word Hanal, which is the first word with the period. And the Alter Rebbe is explaining a certain type of feeling that's called like an intellectual feeling within the heart. So it's cold. It's a cold feeling. It's not a warm feeling of the heart. And Alter Rebbe says that nevertheless, if a person will develop this, that's adequate for the Beinani to be considered an Oved Elikim in the sense of going beyond his limitations. Let's learn inside. Fifth line, Hillel, V'i Lazois, the second word on the fifth line. V'i Lazois, Yose Lehen Lechopkoi, and because of this, he will embrace, B'chol Lev Nefesh, he'll embrace Hashem with his entire heart and soul, Uma'oid, very much so. The Hainu, through Kiyam Havtar Yag mitzvahs, the fulfillment of the mitzvahs, the Ma'aseh Dibur Machshava, and action, speech, and thought. Shehi Hasokas V'Yidiyos HaTorah, which also includes the comprehension of Torah as canals we mentioned earlier. So Hine Geshemayim B'Inyan Zeh B'Talumeis V'Tfunis Liboy. Again, I point out to you that these words Talumeis V'Tfunis Liboy are new to the Tanya over here. We don't find them earlier in Tanya. In a way, we don't even find them later. Talumis means the recesses. Tfunas, it comes from the word tfuna, to understand. Liba, in the heart. So it's like three words which are contradictory initially, right? Liba is the heart. Tfuna implies the mind. Well, which is it? Is it in the heart or is it in the mind? Taluma is recesses. Well, if it's in the heart, it should be revealed, begoli, not talumis. So the Alter Rebbe is indeed very accurate in using these words because he is talking about not a revealed type of love. If he's talking about a revealed love, he would not use these words because it's his galus liboy. And here he's teaching us that even if it's not a heartfelt love for Hashem, but it's only a type of a love that's in the heart, but that feeling senses its intellect. So it's a cold love. It's more of a kind of, I don't want to say robotic love, but it's a guided love. You know, a free love of the heart is a very different type of a love than an intellectual love. A free love of the heart is just passion, full of passion. I'm not talking about a misplaced one in shtus and narishka. I'm talking about in a healthy way. When you observe or you experience this love and that love, it's like night and day. It's like someone was telling me yesterday that someone was writing a review on my book on Zalman Schachter. So I transcribed the interview. I did a pretty much a 2-hour interview with him in Boulder in 2010. So I transcribed it because I wanted it to be in writing for those that won't listen to it on YouTube or whatever the case. There should be a record of it in writing because the Rebbe always said, I grew up with the Rebbe saying, and I heard it over and over, whatever is in print is for Doros, is for eternity, is for generations. So I wanted this interview that I did with him to be for generations. So I transcribed it. It was a lot of work, but I did it. So the person was reviewing my book, one of the people, so he said, okay, but I really want to listen to the actual interview, so it's online. So he tells me yesterday, listening to the interview and seeing you and Zalman in the interview is like night and day to what's in the transcription. There's no comparison. Why? Because when you listen and you see the facial movement and the body movements and the winks and and everything else, it's alive. It's alive. Listen, it's alive as much as communicated in a video, in a clip, all that. It doesn't compare to actually being in the room. That's the deepest, when there's face-to-face contact. But nevertheless, if you compare watching it compared to reading it, it's two different things. And I'm using that maybe as an example to explain, Moshe, the difference between an ava and a yira within what we call his galut halev. It's in the heart, very much warm and passionate, compared to what he says over here, an ava and yira, an ava betalumos tavunos libay. And we define that as a cold love in the heart, where the reason we call it cold is because the mind, the seichel that leads, the thought that generates the feeling is very much dominant in the heart. So what type of love is that? A very guided one and a very sterile one. And guess what? Many times that's the maximum we reach. We don't reach a ava bizgalus libay, which is very different. It's a very different. We always talk about how we walk around with a facade and we're guarded and all of that. The same as over here. For a person to allow their emotions to flow, to be free, it's a big avodah. It's a big avodah. And the Alter Rebbe says that even when you don't, so when it comes to serving Hashem for a Beinoni who's looking to break the nature, right, as we discussed in the last few shiurim, you would think that breaking of nature is created through the free flow emotion. And if you don't have the free flow emotion, so then the breaking of nature is not sincere. Says the Alter Rebbe in chapter 16, wrong. Even if you break your nature just with a sterile love, that's adequate. That's adequate. And your avodah is considered Oved Elokim. You're a servant of God. Your Rabbeinu is a servant of God. So that's a great solace for a person who's looking to connect and is working on himself and So in other words, like this, to say that we shouldn't look for more, we should, because that's what we learned in chapter 14. That's the avodah of a tzaddik, tehi tzaddik. Avram, in other words, should a person allow themselves to be uncontrolled by the mind and let the emotions flow? Ultimately, the answer is yes, you should work towards that. But since the average person, i.e. the Beinoni, doesn't succeed in that area. So the Alter Rebbe says here, don't worry. You're still a good Beinoni. Yes, Moshe.
Does that mean, Rabbi Dalfin, what you said before about the cold, sterile love, does that mean that if we work through a situation and we achieve the results, but the method we used is, I don't know, like you said, cold, sterile, so to speak, but we achieve the results of breaking one's nature. Is that what you're saying? In other words,
yes. Yeah, that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. That is considered an avodah beinoni. That's an oved Elokim. Yes.
Okay, when we say cold, sterile love, what, like?
I told you, taking out the garbage.
What does that mean?
I gave you a very concrete example. You do something you don't like doing. I gave you the example of taking out the garbage for your wife. But whatever it is, you do something that you don't, because as a husband and wife, It's an union of feelings and love and all that, right? But when you're taking out the garbage, that's not what you feel, the average normal person, right? So I gave you a very kind of bottom, but it's true in everything. It's true in everything, Moshe. It's true in davening and in learning and in working. Let's say working, right? There are days, I'll tell you my own work probably, you have the same thing. Sometimes you're just not motivated. You don't have a feeling and you don't, but you do it because either you need to do it because of parnosa or you need to occupy yourself. But today you don't want to draw. You're not inspired. So when you're inspired, you gravitate to painting and drawing and writing and whatever, not in a way that you have to force yourself and convince yourself and prove to yourself, but it's you. It's like, and if I don't do it, I feel empty. I feel empty. Why do you feel empty? Why don't you take a day of relaxation and walk on over there on a Yarkon or whatever it's called, a Yarden, and just walk and get some nice air, and it's nice, but that doesn't fulfill me. What fulfills me is the work that I do. It really, so that level of inspiration would be considered, in the language of Tanya, the hisgalus liboy. The heart's revealed. The emotions are flowing. In other words, the heart is in its natural habitat. But then there are many times it's not that way. So but yet you do it. So there are two types of reasons why you do it. One is, it's only bottom line. It's only, I have to make the money because I got to feed my family, I got to pay my bills. So I do it, but I hate doing what I'm doing. Then there's a level in between. In other words, that what I just said now is maaseh. Do it. The first level of the heart flowing is hisgalus liboy. Is there anything in between? Dalton Rebbe says here in 16, there is. There is an intellectual type of a love in the heart where you're doing it not just because you have to make the parnosa. Once you sit down and you do it, you start liking it more. So you say to yourself, I'm just talking from own experience, when I will go to my computer and open up my file and put my fingers to the keyboard and start looking at what I wrote yesterday and the day before and what I learned and thought about and what I went to sleep with, something starts growing on you and you get more into it. So I don't have that burning passion at the moment to write. I don't have the need to write because I have to pay a bill. I have something in between. Talumas Liba it's called. Tfuna utalumas Liba. It has the intellectual orientation, the reason-driven orientation, Avram, but within the heart. Within the heart. And what I was saying earlier is that you could see a difference in the quality. A song, Avram is a musician, right? So you could see the difference between a song that's composed, that's made, that comes straight from the heart, with those flowing emotions of passion, or a song that's written because you need to write songs to pay your bills, and that's what everyone knows you, Avram, the songwriter, the composer, and there's something in between. This is what the Alter Rebbe is talking about, what's in between. So I hope these examples I've given you are helpful. Let's continue. And he says, Umaychai upiv v'liboy shovin, and his heart and his mind and his mouth and his heart are equal. Shemekayim came befiv, he fulfills what he feels in his mouth, whatever he resolves in this recesses of the heart. The Hainu, and in this case, the Yosh B'Teiras Hashem, he comes to a conclusion to learn God's Torah. Cheftzei, the Yegaba Yom V'Layla. He desires and he puts effort into it night and day. B'fiv. V'chein ha'yadayim v'shari vorim. And so the hands and all other limbs. Mekaimim hamitzvahs kifi masher nigbar b'tfunas libei u'moichoi. He does his limbs fulfill what he resolved in the cold intellect, within the intellectual intellect within the heart. Says the Alter Rebbe, Hari tfuna zu, this tfuna, and the next word is key over here. People glance over it. But Rabbi Yoel pointed it out, and I share it with you. Mislabeshes b'maisa. This intellectual love invests itself in Maisa. Now you see, Moshe, in the case of paying bills, doing what you have to, like you said earlier, I break my nature. If the breaking of nature is just bottom line, without any sense of intellect pushing the breaking of the nature, you'll see in a moment that there's an issue. Let me continue. I want to tell you what that issue is. Alter Rebbe tells us. He says, investing b'maisa dibur machshava ha'toyra v'tzaseh liyosh lehem p'chinas moichim v'chayis, and here are the words v'gatfin, wings, l'porcho le'ela, to make the Torah mitzvahs fly upwards, ki'ilu, as though also behem, it's as though you were involved in the study of Torah, doing mitzvahs, b'tchilu urechima mamish, with love and fear in actuality in the heart, asher bizgalus libay. Now, the Rebbe said like this, there's a rule, we're going to learn about it more in chapter 40 in Tanya. But for now, the rule, the Zohar HaKadosh says, Isra, I don't know if you ever studied this or heard, the Zohar, besides Tanya, he brings it. All Torah mitzvahs, without Ava and Yira, loy porcho le'ela, do not fly upwards. They don't ascend. You know why? Upwards, we mean ruchnius. We mean the world of spirituality, of God, of ruchnius. When you want to get into the world of ruchnius, you have to come there like a ruchni. You can't come there as a chumri and a gashmi, a materialistic individual. Like the famous vart is, the Frierdiker Rebbe's, one of his teachers said to him before he went to sleep every night, Morgen darf man aufstehen gar anders. Tomorrow we must rise. Every morning he put him to sleep at night. He patted his back. Tomorrow you have to rise, little Yingala. Completely different. You're a new person. So Chassidim would say, it says in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, Yehuda ben Tema Omer, Yehuda the son of Tema says, Gibar Kari, Askanemer, Gibar Kari, right, get up like a lion. Lasses Ritzayin Avika Shabashmaim, to do the will of God, right? Get up, jump out of your bed and go serve Hashem, daven, and start your day. Chassidim would say, maybe Eden, it's a vart, a Yiddish vart. How can you get up like a lion if you go to sleep like a lion? But if you go to sleep like a horse, you ain't getting up like a lion, you're getting up like a horse. What does that mean? A horse is tired and sluggish and drag, a horse. A lion is roaring. You want to get up with a roar. Then you have to go to sleep like a lion. If you go to sleep like a deadhead, excuse the expression, I don't mean the rock and roll group, whatever they call the deadheads. I'm saying if a person goes to sleep, completely he falls asleep.
Deadheads are not known for their sleepiness. They're known for other things.
Right. That's why I took it back. But the point is, If you don't go to sleep like a lion, you're not getting up tomorrow like a lion. So if you want to get up tomorrow, go randish, completely different in the morning, you have to already prep the night before. Whatever else, right? Why am I saying this? Now, the Zohar HaKadosh says that Torah mitzvahs, in order for them to get to the right place, they need to fly up there. How do they fly? How? The answer is they need to be. They need to have. What's the word? Octanize. Oxygen. They have to have the oxygenation, whatever the English word is, of spirituality. When you want to enter a world of spirituality, I'm talking about a Torah, a God-given real spirituality, you have to be spiritual. You can't come in there with your ugly clothes and your ugly persona and everything else. It ain't going to work. And even if it's not ugly, you think you can get in there just being a Gashmi? No. Now, that doesn't mean to say, so all of a sudden I'm going to be an angel, I'm going to fast and not eat. No. But you have to become more refined, more ruchnius. When you become more refined, then your Torah mitzvahs will ascend upward. Says the Alter Rebbe here in the chapter, that this tfuna is the gateway to making your Torah mitzvahs more ruchni. If you just do it because I'm breaking my nature, bottom line, but there's no ruchnius associated with it, you yourself are doing a great thing, Moshe. You're breaking your nature. The problem is that in order for that to get to the right place, it still needs oxygen of spirituality. And what is that? This tfuna. The least is this tfuna. If you don't have this tfuna, if your Torah mitzvahs doesn't have any inspiration, okay, so here let's make it a little clearer. Yoini, if your Torah mitzvahs has no inspiration, so yes, you get up for davening in the morning, you want to sleep until 9, 10, and you get up 6, 7. So you broke your nature. Your habit is from youth on, from child, to sleep in the morning. You're a night person, or vice versa. And you break your habit. Gewaldig. There's only one problem. If it's not inspired, if it has no emotions and feelings there, then it cannot ultimately get to the right place, says the Alter Rebbe. So that's why when you have this, what we call talumas, tvunas liboy, that is enough to help your Torah and mitzvahs parchal eila fly upward. And that's why the Alter Rebbe uses the word mislabeshet. Mislabeshet implies in clothing, investing. It's not like it stands from the outside and it happens automatically. No. Even this intellectual cold love in the heart is invested in the Torah and mitzvahs, and it makes it upward. Now, why that is, we're going to learn in a moment. Let's continue. And he says in the brackets, the feelings that you have in this, even in this cold intellectual love, is that the chfeitza, v'chshreika, v'tshuka, murgeshes, those are with desire and passion and yearning and longing that's felt in the heart. B'nafshay atzmei Hashem, that in your soul that's thirsty for God. Mipnei rish beyesh avosei shebelibei anal. It's like you have this free-flowing love. Hoyil, since utfuna zu shebemoiche v'talubes liboy, since what leads to this feeling, it's this intellectual love in the heart, he ameviyosei. You see, it leads hameviyosei lasik behem, to study Torah. And if not for the fact that you would meditate on it, you wouldn't you wouldn't be involved in Torah. You'd play golf instead. You'd surf the internet. You'd watch television and TV all day and night, or play soccer. Why? Because your bodily needs, or you'd eat all day, or sleep all day. Your bodily needs are closer to you than Ruchnius. And look at the Alter Rebbe says in the brackets. V'gam imhu masmid bilimudei. Well, this is a counter argument. What if he's a masmid? He loves to learn. And learn. That's all he knows. Bilimudei. Bitivoi. That's his nature. Says Alter Rebbe, this line, and this blows away everyone and anyone. Aval b'kein oyev es gufa yosef bitivoi. You see, my friends, a Beinoni loves his body more naturally than learning. That's why he's a Beinoni, not a tzaddik. A tzaddik has transformed himself to the point where learning, davening, and doing mitzvahs, he loves more than taking care of his body. And the story I told you is Rabbi Hirschbrook, the Rosh Yeshiva of Montreal, and the great Talmud Chacham was a Baki Shas, a student in the Chacham Lublin Yeshiva. It's Tisha B'Av. You're not supposed to learn the Gemara during the day with your shiurim, only things that are relevant to Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is over. Everyone goes home to break the fast. Everyone's hungry. It's a 24-hour fast. And he's there. He's pouring his head into a piece of Gemara. He's learning. His wife comes and says, Pinchas! The first name was Pinchas. Both, Pinchas! Medaf kim in a high essen. They were Polish. Gotta come home to eat. Pinchas, kim a heim. The whole base of Medrash. There's no one around. Only Rabbi Hirschbrook is learning totally, Pinchas! He hears Pinchas! He says, it's his wife. Oh, his wife. Was willst du? What do you want? Kim heim. Come home. Mit darf essen. You gotta eat. He says, Essen? A tug was me lernt nicht de Geburde, tu me nicht essen. A day that you didn't yet learn your regular Gemara shir, you're not allowed to eat. Or I'll rephrase it. Eating isn't important. I am eating. For me, learning Gemara is eating. For you, my dear wife, eating is, after a whole day of not eating, you're hungry, you eat. But for me, you know what eating is? Learning Gemara. So, you can imagine, and I'm not saying he was a tzaddik, he was a very good person, fine person, and a Talmud Chacham and everything else. But I'm saying, for him, and I knew this person, I'm telling you, I knew him, I saw him in action. And I say that story is 100% true. This man was totally in love with the Gemara. I'm telling you. There was nothing else in his life besides a Gemara, a piece of Gemara. Alter Rebbe says here in the brackets that for the average Beinoni, it's not so. And for the average Beinoni, as much as he wants to break his nature still dominates. And therefore, unless you use the intellect that fuels the heart, even though it's cold, you're going to drift back to your natural self, which is bodily needs. And think about people you're around and know in the past, in the present. How many people do you really know that you could say that, their learning and their mitzvahs that's all they care. That's their life. That gives them physical stability. I think I was talking to a friend in the opposite. When the Rebbe became ill in 1992, there was a chassid who locked himself up in his room, and he didn't come out for 2 years or 3 years ultimately passed away. That's what I heard. It's in a negative, but in other words, he took his Rebbe's illness so serious that he couldn't eat and sleep, and basically he went into a depression. Now, I'm not suggesting that's no good, but think about let's say, COVID, right? We talk about COVID. We've discussed this. Hey, has COVID made a change besides working at home instead of an office? Are we still spending $50,000 on a wedding? Are we still? Has it really made a change? Or did it just make a change temporarily so you shouldn't die and get sick? So we did all the stuff. Now that we feel we're back to the norm, in other words, it didn't really make a change. It's a temporary thing. In other words, yeah, maybe a global, but I'm talking about our personal lives. Are we now different people because of this terrible thing? Well, this thing that Hashem brought to the world. So that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. In order for a Yid to experience true Torah mitzvahs, they need to fuel their Torah mitzvahs with an understanding of God as it impacts a feeling of the heart. And otherwise, you're going to revert back. And that's an answer, Moshe, to what we spoke about the first year we had the Koilul. I remember, I'll never forget, what you told me, there are a lot of people here that are stale. They do it like robots, but there's no chayas. I remember that. That's now 6 years ago or so. Right? The Alter Rebbe tells us here why that is. Because there isn't at least this tfuna v'talumas libay in their avodas Hashem. There's a come to shul on time, make this minyan, give this tzedakah. It's all about the poil and at the end of the day, what?
It's an enthusiasm issue.
Yes, but the question is why and how? Why isn't there an enthusiasm, and how do I motivate? The Alter Rebbe says exactly. The enthusiasm comes when it's fueled by understanding how important it is, so that triggers the heart to start moving in some level, and that creates that the action from the heart is animated, more or less. I have a shir now, so with Hashem tomorrow, hopefully we can finish the painting. Sei gesund.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.